Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? It's Thursday morning live. I am super excited about being here this morning. Are you alive, alert, awake, and full of energy this morning, ready to rock and roll in your day? I always talk about this time of year being the time of year for planning, right? Starting to get ready. Take a look at what we did in the past year, the past few months. How did we get to where we're at today, or how did we not get to where we're at today because of maybe what we didn't do? And then we have to take a look at what we're going to do next year. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish next year? This is the time of year we should be sitting down, taking a look at our calendar, starting to schedule out all of your personal activities, your family time, the vacations you're going to take, schedule out all that time, then schedule out all of the activities where you're going to need to be out of the office, or you're going to be needing to be doing something else, and then looking for those goals and how do you build a business plan around those goals. But we're going to get on, we're going to walk through it. We're going to talk about our goals, our dreams. We're going to talk about mindset. What makes a good, strong mindset? What's going to help you to accomplish where you want to go in the coming months? We're going to talk about scheduling. We're going to talk about how do we plan and business planning. I use a business planning system, a 1-3-5. And, it's a system that's been used by major corporations around the country for years. And what I have found is if you take one solid goal and you build into it those 8 performance metrics that you have to hit in order to get there, it helps you achieve that. Morning, though, I'm excited about our guest, Tom Gosche, who is with GLM Accounting in Schaumburg, their general accounting firm, working with small businesses, generally less than 30 employees. But we're going to talk a lot about taxes and planning this morning. So, hey, Tom, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. Great to see you again.
Great to see you, too.
Yeah,
I love
what you're
talking about, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's that time of year, right? You got to be, thinking about what you're going to do.
And if I could add to that, now is the time of year to talk to your accountant. That's all part of your planning or your finances. And between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'm not saying that they're dead, but they're a little slower than they are during tax season between January and April. That is a great time to sit down with your accountant. How have things been going this year? What do you want to accomplish next year? And then do some tax planning for this year, so that you're not doing it when it's almost too late. So I would add that to your list of end of the year things is talk to your accountant. And if you don't have one, that's what I'm here for.
Excellent. Glad that you're here this morning. That's for sure. That's a great plug for GLM. So, hey, as we get going here, one question I always ask my guests when I kick these off, and I always say, hey, I'm going to write a book on this. But in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
One word. See, I just screwed it up already. See how I'm already messing up. This is going to be the longest half hour or so of your life. So the one word is connector. I think throughout the years, what I found is that when you connect, two people together, you're always remembered. If you're connecting them in a good way, you could work, you have the same type of clients, you should have a conversation and see how you could share those clients. You have a potential referral for somebody, being able to connect people and doing it in a fun way, an easy way so that two people can get together. I love just being a connector.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's interesting in what you do, what I do, we have to be connected, right? It's business building, it's relationship building. It's, I learned this a long time ago. So I met a guy years ago, and this was my first experience around it. And, I'm kind of green behind the ears and getting into the world of networking. But I meet this guy, and he says, hey, who can I connect you with that would help you in your business? I said, well, I don't even remember exactly who I said I needed, but he said, hang on. He went to his computer, printed out for me 3 people for me to call. And as I was walking out of the office, he was on the phone calling those people saying, hey, this guy's going to be calling you. Take his call. I think he's got an interesting conversation to talk to you about. So, you know, I love when we can meet people and say, hey, you know, what can I do to help you build your business? And I think that's what we both do. So,
Yeah, it's very beneficial. You know, I do enough networking out there in the real world where if you can have that memory of who you just met or who you just talked with and who you're talking to, and think about how, you know, those people can, you know, connect, that's great. And then make that introduction. There's a TV show, an older TV show called How I Met Your Mother, and it's called Have You Met Mike? You know, it's like that simple. You know, have
yeah,
you met Mike? He's got some really neat real estate ideas and investing ideas that you might be interested in. And Mike, this is, we'll call him Bob, and he's got some interesting things that you might be interested in as well. So it's
yeah.
simple, but you still have to definitely do it.
Yeah, you and I met at a networking event. We actually met at Engaged Speakers
Yeah,
in Summer.
engaging speakers. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and big shout out to Carolyn. She's,
Carolyn, yeah, the Schaumburg Group, the first Tuesday of every month. That's just an amazing organization, not just for the networking, which happens, you know, they do it very intentionally there, but for speaking engagements, for making connections within business like we have here. And really just, it's been a great 20 years. They just celebrated their 20-year anniversary of connecting people and speakers across the world now.
yeah, it was a great event. And it's funny because I do a lot of public speaking and I do a lot of these, right, podcasts, and I'm on shows and have people on my shows. And, you know, I learned a lot. I was surprised, you know, I was like, wow, those are great ideas.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Tom, let's do this. Let's dive into who you are, your background, what you're currently doing, how you got into the world of connecting, you know?
Sure. Well, it started out as an early age. I hate to go back to, you know, I started out as a child. No, it wasn't that far back. I've always been in sales. Ever since I graduated college, I've been in sales. I was reading a book called How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. It's a textbook. It's not very entertaining, but it's good information that just said, go find a group of people that can refer business to you. Luckily, I read How to Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten by McKay. Forgot his first name. Harvey McKay. Thank you. Harvey McKay. That one was a little bit more entertaining, and it helped me find the organization called BNI. It was 1997 or so. And I joined a chapter, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I was selling business to business with a group of people that were selling business to consumer. So I recognized that. I threw some people around me that were also business to business. I got a lot of business out of it and kind of grew from there. I ended up owning the franchise for Northern Illinois for about 20 years. I sold it a few years back. And through that time, using the BNI process, I taught people how to network better. And then when I went off on my own and I started working with GLM, doing business development, I'm not an accountant, but doing business development to bring in new clients to the 25 accountants that we have, I used that process to grow from when I joined them 8 years ago, they had 16 accountants, and now they've got 25. So nice growth using all of the different techniques and things that I've learned through BNI and some things that I picked up over time to, you know, really grow to a nice sized business.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I got to ask a funny question, but where in the world is Tom Hopkins today? I read that book too. That was the first sales book I ever read, and it was eye-opening and enlightening. Right? People actually do this.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I sent him a letter that day. He sent me one back. I still have it somewhere. That's why I was kind of looking on the other side there to see if it was right there. I don't know. He's still around. I looked him up just a couple of years ago just because of something like this where I was telling the story. He's still around. He's a little bit more gray. But Tom Hopkins, Harvey McKay is still around. And, you know, those are some great books that he's written. Growing an envelope business, just unbelievable to hear these stories.
Yeah, that was always fascinated by Harvey McKay from envelopes, right? Manufacturing envelopes. When you think about the world of business and you start to think about the different opportunities that are out there, I was out with my girlfriend last week and we were just talking about business and we were actually walking on the beach and looking at some of the big houses and saying, wow, I wonder what people do for a living. And she pointed at a house and said, geez, the guy who owns a Duraflame owns that house. And, I started to think about that business model, right? Here's a guy built a company from fireplace logs that, holy cow, I don't know that anybody's ever tried to compete with him. And, in business, right, you have the early stage adapters that come into the market, and then you have the next copycats that come in and try and take another market chunk. And, I never saw that happen with that company. I found that to be really interesting. And, Harvey McKay, man, he made a fortune manufacturing envelopes.
If you're going to do one thing, you may as well do it right. I think the Duraflame guy saw sawdust and saw an opportunity. All these sawmills with sawdust that was just getting thrown away, and decided to try to put all that together and make a fire starter.
Yeah, here's a funny story about sawdust. I was in this is a number of years ago. I was in Coos Bay, Oregon, and there was a ship in the port. And this ship in the port had a mountain of sawdust on it. And I asked the guy I was with, I said, hey, what are they doing with that? He goes, oh, they ship it across the ocean to China, where they manufacture it into pressboard and ship it back. I said, that's interesting to me that they would ship it all the way over there and then ship it back manufactured. He goes, it's cheaper to take it overseas, manufacture it there, than it is to make it right here.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing. And that's what, when you own a business, a lot of those financial decisions help get made when you're looking at the finances, when you're looking at, forecasting what could happen if we did it this way, what could happen if we did it this way, or even if you've been doing things, on your own, pricing and stuff like that, having another set of eyes is what can help, take a business to that next level. Because you might think, shipping all this stuff overseas is going to cost a lot of money until you do the research and figure it out. And then, so I'm going to say that there's probably an accountant involved with that decision making, and a business owner that decided to sit down and figure out, what the unit cost is for their ideas.
Yeah. Do we call those guys accountants at that level, or bean counters though?
Yeah, not much of a difference, but yeah, pretty much trying to, get another set of eyes on your business. It happened for the first time a couple of weeks ago. There's a small business owner that came to us. She'd been doing her own accounting because she's got a master's in accounting. She's also, got her business degree in entrepreneurism. And so she's got 3 businesses. She's been doing the accounting for all 3 businesses. And it's been completely overwhelming to her, even though she has a master's in accounting. So luckily, I had the accountant saying all the right things, and she came to us, and now we're going to do her accounting. Now, we got to have an extra special eye on this one. Not that we wouldn't otherwise, but, having that master's in accounting, just having that another set of eyes, it can really help a business grow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't mean to throw in these blatant self-promotions here, but I hopefully it's...
No. That's what it's about. This is about you, Tom. This is your 20 minutes. That's all. Hey, who owns GLM?
The gentleman by the name of Gallagher, Lieb, Maroney. It was originally called Gallagher, Lieb, Maroney and Associates. Many people think that the G is my last name, which I kind of like that they're thinking that. But it was started in the late 90s by 3 gentlemen. Mr. Maroney was generally more on the sales side. He was going out to get the business. So I kind of took over his territory, so to speak, when he retired. Mr. Lieb is more the tax brain, and he is only around during tax season now. So calling the thing Gallagher is a little bit difficult to do in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. So we're just keeping the GLM name and focusing on just the accounting side of things.
Who was the M?
Mr. Maroney. So he was the sales. Yeah, he was the sales guy.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I thought the name was kind of familiar. I used to use an accounting firm. It used to be in Lake Zurich.
Yes, that happens to us all the time. They are also GLM accounting.
Yeah.
But their GLM stands for something different. So if you go to their website, it says we are not associated with the GLM in Schaumburg. And if you go to our website, it says we are not associated with the accounting firm in Palatine or Inverness or wherever it is. So
that's fun.
They have no affiliation. It just the three names stand for something different. And sometimes we get their information, so we exchange it with them. There's enough business for all of us to go around where we don't really have to take anything from anybody else. So
yeah. Isn't that funny? In the world of business, there is so much opportunity out there.
Oh yeah.
If you take a look at the different types of businesses that are out there, and who runs different businesses, there is a lot of opportunity out there for people to go and be successful. And no matter what industry you're in or what you're doing, it's just a matter of cutting your teeth in the door. Look at the insurance business.
Sure. Yeah, it seems like every time you go to a networking event, every third person is in insurance or financial services, and they all seem to be doing well.
Yeah. So it's tax planning time. We're coming into tax season. What should people be preparing, or how should they be preparing today for getting ready to start to see you guys or their accountant?
Yeah, as I said right in the beginning, is see your accountant early. Try to get in as early as possible. After the first of the year, right around the end of January, they're tough to get. They're tough to get in front of. They're working on tax returns from people that they've met now or even in October. So between now and then, if things, if you have an hour or two to get with your accountant, that's the main thing that I would recommend. I personally am not an accountant, and I don't have any specific things that you should look for. As much as I would hope that accounting was black and white, there's a lot of gray area. So go to your accountant, tell the person, this is what I'm looking to do. This is what I'm looking to, do by this strategy. How can I do that without any red flags, without any, knocks on the door from guys with, sunglasses and a badge? So, talk to your accountant about what you're trying to do, and they will figure it out and get it done. Or they might tell you, nope, sorry, can't do that. Or
right.
So that's probably my biggest recommendation right there.
So here's a question for you. And, if you're a small business owner today and you're not super happy with your accountant that you're currently using and you want to look around for somebody new, what are some of the questions, a couple of the top questions that somebody should be asking a new accountant about, service and
Sure.
helping them?
The first thing I would say is, if you're not happy with your accountant, think about why. Is it because they're not getting back to you? Is it because they're not contacting you first with different things? What are some of the things that you're not happy with? And then have a conversation with your current accountant. In some cases, people have used their tax accountant for their business, regular business accounting. And those are really two different areas within accounting. So your tax accountant doesn't want to, do your profit and loss statement of your business and enter in your QuickBooks and things like that. So maybe you're asking your accountant to do something that they're not really excited about doing. So once you talk to them, you'll find that out and you'll realize, well, hey, I really just want to do your tax returns. and you need a bookkeeper to do your day-to-day stuff. And then the bookkeeper can do that. They're more readily available for your questions. And then the bookkeeper gives the information to the accountant. So there's one thing that you could do without having to switch. Switching accountants is very difficult. Even when they're unhappy, they know your business. They've done your tax returns. They know the ins and outs. That turning it over to somebody else, we can review tax returns. We can get an idea of what the other person was doing. But having that conversation and making sure that they're doing what they love to do for you. If that's the case and you need some help, that's where we come in. We have bookkeepers that just do the bookkeeping, and we can work with your current tax accountant. If you want to switch it all over to us, we do have a nice system of onboarding to make sure that it's as seamless as possible. But then we want to make sure that open lines of communication is there so that you're not switching again in 2 years because you're not telling us what you want and we're not providing it, because as good as we are, we can't read your mind.
Yeah, I think that switchover thing is a big deal. I'm in the real estate space, and I know you guys do a little bit of real estate where you're at. But, what we do is we syndicate real estate offerings. So we raise private capital and we buy large apartment complexes. Well, we had an accountant first year on one of our deals that, boy, we just were not happy with it all. So we switched the next year. And again, we weren't happy. And we weren't happy because of the length of time it took for the new accountant to get caught up. So we went back, we had a conversation with the new accountant, and they kind of assured us now that, hey, it's not going to be like that moving forward. It'll be different this year because now we have our arms around it. And I think a lot of times, I see that happen. I've heard of that happen, especially in my space, because there's so many moving parts in what we do as real estate syndicators.
Yep. It takes at least 6 months to get into the swing of things. And that's not even including the ramping up before that, taking all that old information and getting it in there. It's at least 6 months of back and forth between the client and the accountant on how they're going to transmit information back and forth. Back in the old days, it was an envelope. The accountant would come out, they'd bring an envelope back from what they just put into, their QuickBooks or whatever it was at the time. They'd pick up the envelope of receipts and they'd go back to the office, enter it all in, come back with that envelope, pick up the next envelope. You don't have to do that now. There's smart vaults, there's emails, there's all kinds of different ways that we can get that information. And now with QuickBooks Online, it's real time, being in there. So it still takes a long time, even though the information is more instantaneous. And it really comes down to communication. Hey, we're not sure how long this is going to take to do until we know how long it takes for us to do it.
Right.
And we can spend all kinds of time beforehand talking about, what it is that you want to do. And then all of a sudden we're partway through it and the client will say something like, oh, and also I need you to. And, all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 more hours of work right there. So open communication. Your accountant is probably your most trusted advisor. They know your business. They know your finances. They know what you can do. And in most cases, they've got other clients in the same industry, so they understand the industry. They're not in your industry. They're not there to make a decision, should you go this way or that way. They're in there to say, if you go this way, it's going to cost you this much and you're going to make this much. If you go that way, it's going to cost you this much, but you're going to make this much. That's your decision-making process.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about GLM and what types of accounting you guys specialize in. Is there a small business that you like? Is there something that, or do you do anything?
It's a little bit of all of it. So as you mentioned, and as I mentioned, getting to have a client go from a different accounting firm to ours is very difficult. It's a difficult decision. It's a difficult process. So when I came on board, I thought it might be best if we went after, as new clients, people that were doing their own accounting, and it just bogs them down. So, it's 8 o'clock at night that just put the kids to bed, and now they're going to sit down and do 4 hours of entering into QuickBooks. So we really started working on that, and then we grew with them. So our first client 8 years ago had 2 employees. They now have 15 employees. We were doing their work quarterly. Now we do their work monthly and meet with them monthly as they're growing. So it's nice because then we become their first and only accountant, and then they never want to switch. So it works out great. The key word that I say in networking, it gets a chuckle, is if you hear a business owner say, tonight, I'm going to pour myself a cocktail and do my accounting, that's a good referral for me. And I got that from an after hours that I was at. Somebody that was new in the chamber came up to the group that I was in and said, tonight, I got to get out of here. I got to go home, pour myself a glass of wine and do my QuickBooks. And everybody just started giggling and laughing. I'm like, I am stealing that. That is exactly the type of client we're looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you find that happens a lot. You do a lot of networking, don't you?
I do. I do. I get around. I mean, it's a great way to get new business by connecting other people for their business. And it's also a lot of fun. I just really enjoy that process, and then putting strategy behind it, being intent with follow-up. We exchanged cards, and, it just was a quick follow-up. We had a Zoom, and now we're on a podcast. All this happened within 1 month. Right. That doesn't happen when you're making cold calls or if you're, working off of a list.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, listen, it's been great this morning. Any last thoughts? I can't believe how fast the time goes sometimes, any last thoughts that somebody might want to think about?
I think we covered a lot of it. If you're growing your business, focus on growing your business. Focus on process to get your products out the door, even if it's you are the product. Focus on that part of it and find experts that can help you with the nitty-gritty details. It might seem expensive at first, but once you start to recognize what your time is worth and then how much you're paying somebody to do it, and they're going to do it in less time and do it more correctly, I'm not a grammar guy, then it'll definitely pay off in the long run. And that has to do with accounting. It has to do with, drawing up your contracts or doing any type of pricing or, just, putting a process together to, manufacture a small item.
Yeah. I always tell people that, buy your time back. Get somebody to cut your grass, clean your house, do your accounting.
Yep.
Buy your time back. That's for sure. Well, listen, it's been great this morning. Hey, let me ask you real quick. What's the best book you've ever read?
The best book, it has to be Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten by Harvey McKay. I recently refound a book by Mike Shanahan, the head coach of the Denver Broncos. He wrote a book after the Denver Broncos won 2 Super Bowls, and he talked about how to structure your business, and he used his examples for changing the attitude of the Denver Broncos. And I used a lot of that in growing the B&I business, and I used a lot of that in starting business. It's a harder to find book, but it's probably one of my favorites.
Wow, interesting. Very cool. Hey, how do people get a hold of you, Tom?
Well, you got the email scrolling across the bottom, and that leads to the website, which is glm.com, not affiliated with the one in Palatine. And then my number, if you want, is 630-675-8971, or get out to a networking event in Schaumburg or Elk Grove with the GOA, or engaging speakers, or the ACA Business Club, or the Rotary Club. I've got my Rotary pin on of Schaumburg Hoffman Estates. And you'll see me. Say you saw me here, and I'll definitely introduce you around.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And hey, I'll just throw this at you too. And I love this Thursday morning show. It's just a quick little snippet of business, entrepreneurs, doesn't matter what industry. if you know anybody that might benefit from this 30 minutes on a Thursday morning, I'd love that referral.
That'd be great.
Because if I can build into somebody's business and give them a little bit of exposure, let's talk about that. Let's talk about being an entrepreneur and a business owner. Hey, thanks for being here. I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoy